Hello and welcome to this thought for today. I'm reading a lovely book at the moment. It is by Richard Holloway, the former Bishop of Edinburgh and Primate of the Episcopal Church of Scotland from 1992 to 2000. The book is called Waiting for the Last Bus, Reflections on Life and Death. And Holloway is 86 now, and the book is really a reflection on just what he says, life and death, the accumulated wisdom and perception of a person who's been a great bishop and church leader. It's pastoral and wise. It gathers up his thoughts. It's also aesthetically beautiful. He writes very well, and his reflections are interspersed with poetry and scripture, somewhat akin to Augustine's Confessions. And Kate and I read short passages together most nights before we go to sleep. It's guaranteed to send Kate into a peaceful sleep, but I think that's just because she's very tired. The part we read last night was from the chapter called Looking Back, where he explores the idea of free will, that people live by free choice in their decision making. And this view of free will undergirds society's moral code at several different levels, one being our judicial system, and there are prisons for those who commit crimes. And he notes that in times past, people were flogged, beheaded, burned at the stake even, for their offences against society. And these days, many of these cruel punishments no longer exist in the world, but they've often been replaced by public shaming, especially in social media. And there's a prayer sometimes made for those who are in the news, because it quite often means that their lives are in deep trouble. Humiliation and being cast out may be even worse than physical punishment. And there's a third layer of punishment flowing from the foundation of free will. And this is of a self-inflicted kind and often hidden away. It's the burden of guilt and self-reproach that people may carry around through the internalisation that their failings have been freely chosen, that they could have done better if they'd only tried, that it's their fault, they are to blame. And especially as people approach their final years, these burdens can be awful. A late dear friend of mine once said to me, "You know, the hardest thing to bear is the realisation that you have not been the person you could have been." And Holloway sums up this general lament in the words of T.S. Eliot from Little Gidding. "And last, the rending pain of reenactment of all that you have done and been, the shame of motives late revealed, and the awareness of things ill done and done to others' harm." And Holloway brings a softer perspective to the possibility of harsh self-judgment and consequent despair, with the recognition that there is much beyond free will, and questions whether it even exists, for so much of our lives and who we become has different origins than our own self-motivation and will. And he writes of the idea that our lives and characters are more like a tapestry that a weaver makes. And this metaphor suggests, in his words, that we were never in charge. The weaver was. Another name for her is inheritance. She gathered the threads already formed by our DNA and all the other circumstances that went into the making of our unique existence, and slowly wove them into the story of our life. The threads shuttled across the loom of time, and our portrait was gradually revealed. And by old age, the picture is nearly complete, apart from a few threads yet to be tied up to finish the story. And he notes that the tying up of these loose threads can be very important and encourages reflection on our lives with a view to doing this, but that it always be done with not only honesty and facing of reality, but with kindness and compassion, and to apply this same approach to our understanding of others too. Holloway then models this with a moving reflection upon Peter's 3 betrayals of Jesus at his crucifixion and an exploration of forgiveness and grace. I'm looking forward to reading these in the nights to come. Waiting for the Last Bus by Richard Holloway is a gift to us, especially in these times we live in and look for a new normal. There is much that can be healthy and life-giving in this new normality, and may God help us to find it. So may God's blessings be with us all.